The latest Minecraft snapshots brings us more animal variants and new spawn eggs. Good now, my name is MagentaLewi and welcome to another Minecraft update video. If you don't want to miss out on any essential updates to Minecraft but don't want to waste your time on videos about bug fixes and code changes in every single snapshot, subscribing to my channel is the perfect way to only get the news worth knowing, and it also helps a small YouTuber grow. Last week's snapshot only brought features that's been in the experimental part of the game for a while and the sheep variants that I just knew would be changed again, and this week it actually turns out that I was right. But with what I think is the final sheep variants and even more new features, I thought it was worth making a full video with all these changes now. First up, let's talk about all the small changes of previous features and save the biggest features for last. Before, the new firefly bushes would give a firefly bush item just like any of the big flowers like this, but now they will spread out just like glow lichen and the other new bushes. The bush now only drops when using shears. Wait, I can show that in creative. The bush now only drops when broken with shears or with silk touch. Bundles can now be found in chests inside of villages. Camels now also spawns in deserts and not only in the desert villages. The mushroom also got a new texture, and you can see especially the snout is now popping out just like the new cow, so it matches the new cow variants. And the sound for breaking grass has been lowered, which is very needed because it was just so unnecessarily loud before, but now it's way better. Much better. The features that have been accessible in the experimental features for a while is the new cartographer maps and wandering trader traits. So from now on, the cartographer will actually sell maps to other villages in other biomes. So here you can see in the desert you can buy maps to a taiga village and a savanna village, and this is different from each biome that you are buying them in. And the wandering trader in general has way better prices now and also has more items and a larger amount of stock for most of the items. And as you can see, the wandering trader will now also buy stuff, and now he moved too far away, but we'll just try and get a little bit closer here. So he will always have 2 buying traits, and then he will also always have 2 special traits, and then 5 common traits. The buying traits will always be able to be done 2 times. The special traits like the potion of invisibility will only be able to be done once. And the normal traits will be able to be done up to 4 times. The wandering trader also got some new traits other than the buying traits, and that is, for an example, the potion of invisibility, but it is also all the logs and an enchanted iron pickaxe. The first completely new feature is wolf sound variants. Whenever a wolf spawns, it will receive a specific set of sounds, and that is not dependent on the wolf variant in the biome. They all still bark, pan, growl, and so on, but it will have a different vibe to it. So the vibes are the classic dog sounds. We got big, cute, puckling, angry, grumpy, and sad. And here's an example of a bark of each variant. And now for the sheep that I wouldn't make a video about when they were the big feature of last week's snapshot, because I just knew they would change it. But if we look at this, you can see that we didn't really get any real variants of the sheeps, but they differ in biomes in their colors. Until now, we have always had a spawn rate of 81.836% chance of getting a white sheep, 5% chance of getting a black, gray, or light gray sheep, and then a 3% chance of getting a brown sheep, and then of course there is the 0.164% chance of getting a pink sheep. This was the old spawn rates. Then they did something crazy, and that is changing the most common sheep in the cold biomes to being black, and then have the uncommon sheep with 3 to 5% chance of spawning being cyan, blue, and light blue. And then also gray, light gray, sorry. So these are some crazy colors that would be quite common in the cold biomes. And looking at the warm biomes, it was mostly brown, but then there would also be a quite high chance, 3 to 5%, of getting yellow, orange, red, and then the gray sheep. And these are just so crazy colors that a lot of people complained about the update, saying that like this is just too unnatural. So luckily they changed it back to this again, so this is still the spawn rates in the temperate biome. But then in the cold and warm biomes there has been a change. And as you can see here, the change is that the most common sheep in the cold biomes is still the black sheep, and then the uncommon sheep there is light gray, gray, white, and brown. And then in the warm biomes, the brown sheep is the most common, and then the uncommon ones is white, black, gray, and light gray, and then the pink sheep is still the only unnatural colored sheep that has a chance of spawning, and that chance is the same in all the biomes that sheep spawn in. You might also notice that the look of the sheep is a little bit different than it's used to in Java, that is, because the textures are now matching the textures in Bedrock. So for an example, you can see how the color, the wool around the face, has the same color as the rest of the wool, because before it would still be white. And with that comes a very cool feature that I have been wanting in Java Edition for so long, and that is the ability to still tell the color of a sheep when you have sheared it. So as you can see, it's still a gray sheep, it's still a black sheep, it's still a light gray sheep. You can actually see that when they have been sheared. Before they would just be white, and that didn't even make sense, because how can they grow colored wool if they're white underneath? I didn't understand that, but now we have this, and it's so cool. The pixels are a little bit harsh. I don't exactly love the look of it, but it's so nice that we can actually see the colors now. Finally, we get to the new spawn eggs. And firstly, as an OG Minecrafter, I thought that there was no way they changed the vanilla look of the spawn eggs into this. But with so many eggs, and thinking of colorblind people especially, this change is actually very welcome. And these textures are already growing it on me. Like, look at these, they're so cool. So first off, you should notice that they are all egg-shaped, but there are some additions on some of them, as you can see. And mostly they've tried to avoid eyes, which I think is really cute. That just gives some personality to the eggs that is different from the actual mobs. And also a cool thing, as you can see here, is that big mobs have big eggs and small mobs have small eggs. And that changes a little bit depending on the mobs. One thing I find weird though is that this is a ghast, and that's a huge egg, which makes sense. And then of course an ocelot has a very, very small egg, which makes sense. But then the mushroom, which is kind of in between in sizes, has exactly as big of an egg as the ghast. And with the horns or ears or whatever this is, it actually looks bigger than the ghast. And I think that's a little bit sad, but other than that, they are looking so freaking cool. So let's take a closer look on all the eggs. So first up, you should notice that all the water-related mobs have this like water ring around them at the bottom. And I don't think that was necessary, but it looks pretty cool. The dolphin looks a little bit creepy with these spikes, to be honest. But it makes sense, it's noticeable, it's recognizable, of course. The guardian eggs especially are very recognizable and they're super cool. The cod and the salmon looks good. The tropical fish, of course, being the clownfish. The tadpole looking a little bit big compared to the others, but very, very cute. And then of course the squid also makes a lot of sense, and you can see how the water is actually darker on the glow squid, and I really like that detail. Now some mobs that are also water related but didn't get the blue water ring is the axolotl, the drowned, and the turtle, and I don't know why that is, but fair enough. I think it would look cool on the axolotl though, but just looking at the axolotl spawn egg, perfect. Now taking a look on the regular farm animals or exotic animals, but regular animal nonetheless, I think most of them are really good. When we look at like llamas, horses, the panda even, the pig, everything, they all have snouts. Almost all of them have snouts. And now the cow has actually got a snout. That I spoke about that in this very video with the mushroom, also now getting the snout. But they chose the cow eggs as some of the only ones to not have snouts, and I think that's very odd, to be honest. And they just look so big like this, but they are very cool and recognizable, so I guess I'll give them a pass on that. The llama, very recognizable. I also like how they actually managed to make the horse, the donkey, and the mule recognizable from each other with the colors alone. So that's very, very good. Of course, the zombie horse with the hair there looks very cool. The camel is recognizable. All of these are recognizable, and being smaller also gives some more personality to the eggs, of course. I love that the cat is jelly. The bat is really good, so cool with the little wings. I love that. The LA especially, and the panda, of course, so cute. The parrot, that's just perfect. The frog, I also really like that one. And then also the rabbit is really good, but then the armadillo actually looks a little bit close to the rabbit, but I think the difference is big enough, but it kind of looks like a rabbit as well, but I guess armadillos just do when you take away their body. Looking at most of the hostile mobs, or just the mobs that isn't regular animals, I think most of them are really good. So I am a little bit disappointed in the blaze because, well, it's just a little bit boring, but I guess it's pretty cool. The phantoms, as much as people hate them, they do look cool, and the egg does as well. I like how these spiders are very recognizable without the eyes, because these are actually their fangs. And I think that's very cool. The slime makes a lot of sense. The magma cube is a little bit weird because the magma cubes don't have these rings on them. The zombie eggs being very simple, but also very recognizable. I like that. The strider, of course, being very good. I like how this is looking this way. The shulker especially is one of my favorites because the egg is opening to reveal the shulker inside, and I just love that. The creeper, of course, very recognizable, so important, perfect way to do it. The breeze, of course, is also very recognizable because of the eyebrows, which is like its most defining feature, and that's so cool. The warden looking very cool. The creaking spawn egg, look at that, that's so artistic, I love that. And then finally the end dimension mobs are looking very cool. You can see the endermite, very recognizable, very cool with the pink magic thing, whatever it is. Very cool. The enderman also looking very cool. But then the dragon, I don't know about you guys, the ender dragon to me is quite disappointing, to be honest. It's got the snout and it's got the horns, but then other than that it's very boring. So the dragon breath, which is the pink stuff around the enderman and the endermite, is not seen on the ender dragon, so it looks way less magical than the others. And the enderman being as big as the ender dragon kind of dwarfs it, you know. It's just not as impressive as I would want the ender dragon spawn egg to be, but, well, it's recognizable, so I can't complain too much. Looking at all the villager or villager related mobs, I love that their most known feature is their noses, and then that's just the main thing on the eggs as well. So if you take a look at the normal villager, it's basically just an egg with a nose. Same goes with the vindicator, the pillager, the evoker, of course, but also the iron golem, the ravager, wandering trader, of course, the witch, and also the zombie villager all got that big nose, and I personally really like that. I think it's so fun and so cool. Looking at the piglins, I've heard some people say they look too similar, and, well, I don't know. I think there's interchangeable enough. I think it's cool. They look very cool. almost too detailed when we look at the Hoglin and Soglin, though. These almost don't look like eggs to me. It's basically just heads, but they are cool, so I can't complain too much. And finally, when looking at the skeletons, I know they're not that recognizable when you look at the mobs themselves, but the eggs, yeah, I don't know if they could do anything better, or like, they're just not that recognizable to me. Like, if we take a closer look, of course the Bogged, very recognizable, the Stray, very recognizable, but then the skeleton. You know, the main thing here is the crack, and if you look at the skeleton mob, it does have a crack in its head, but it's not that obvious actually. But then the egg is just one big crack, and well, I guess it's recognizable that this is a skeleton, but I just feel like there should be something more recognizable about the skeleton. And then when we take a look at the skeleton horse, that's very close to the skeleton, but actually the ghast itself is basically the same, just without the crack and then wider, which I think is kind of wasted as well. I think they could add something else from the ghast to the egg, because they're just not too different. And then of course the villa skeleton is just a black version of the skeleton, and then the wither is basically just a gray version of the ghast. And yeah, I don't know about you guys, I'm just a little bit disappointed in these. I know they are very difficult to make as eggs because they don't have that many recognizable features on the mob itself, but I just hope they can do something better with these ones. But all in all, I think all of these eggs are very, very cool. And with that, I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, then please do leave a like, maybe make sure to subscribe, and maybe even comment your favorite new feature of these snapshots. With all that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!